Good Monday evening, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here with your live weather impact. It is now June 22nd. We're tracking some isolated thunderstorms out there for our area, the Charlotte metro area, most of the vicinity. The storms have been pretty isolated to scattered at worst, but up towards the Triad area, they've been a lot more active. So let's go right to the radar, show you what we have out there right now. We do have a little band of showers and storms trying to develop in northern Gaston County. This is heading towards the town of Stanley, Dallas, Lowellsville. This is going to head towards probably Mountain Island Lake, probably North Charlotte, Huntersville, Cornelius area. Further north, we've had some showers up into Iredell County. Another cluster is developed in parts of Catawba and Caldwell County. This is where the most active storms have been today, along in North I-40. Now, up towards areas towards our FMY viewing area up there, you can see big-time thunderstorms in the Triad, Winston-Salem, Greensboro under severe thunderstorm warnings. There's actually a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for those areas until 11 o'clock. Further south, we are watching one cell that is coming out of the upstate. This one's near Lawrence, South Carolina. This one definitely has the signature of a downburst, possibly with it, with some pretty strong winds. So I wouldn't be shocked if we get a warning out of this if it maintains itself, but they've been pushing east and kind of falling apart. So there's a quick storm track. This is going to head towards southern parts of Chester County. So if you're in Chester County, this would be a storm I would watch very carefully over the next hour or so, because it potentially could produce a severe thunderstorm warning. Obviously, we showed you the storms to the north. But when you widen the view out here, and I'll turn off the warnings because I'll clutter the screen a little bit. You can see these are pretty isolated. There's nothing that is widespread to this, and a lot of us, unfortunately, are going to miss out completely on rain chances. We don't want to see severe storms, but I doubt many of you wouldn't mind a good downpour right now to help with the drought conditions and help cool things down. Now, back to the west, the cold front is still lingering. So the cold front itself is still back to the west. That's going to come through late tonight, and that could produce some showers, but nothing severe. There's that severe thunderstorm watch I was talking about for central parts of North Carolina into Virginia. That's up until 11 o'clock tonight. That does include Davie and Davidson counties just over the border from us, not too far away. So tonight, this is mainly for the Charlotte area, southern Piedmont. 20% chance, maybe we get a shower or thunderstorm. I can't rule it out yet, but it's probably going to be hit or miss. And if you get a shower, you're one of the lucky few. Most people will be pretty dry as we fall back into the low 70s tonight. Tomorrow, noticeably cooler. We won't be in the low 90s like we were today. We topped out at 93. Tomorrow will be, at least 6 degrees cooler than that, possibly even more, with mid to upper 80s. So it's still hot or warm, but that's not as hot as it was the last couple of days. If we do see a strong storm or a severe storm tonight, damaging winds are primary concern, I should say. No flood risk, really. These are moving quickly. They're not stationary storms. They're not training right now. Tornado risk is what we call non-zero. It's not very high, but it's probably less than 2% for sure. So we're not seeing a widespread tornado risk. This is really a straight line setup for winds and bow echoes, these bowing segments, and that's what we're seeing up in the Greensboro, Winston-Salem area right now. But you can see through 8 o'clock, maybe a cluster developing again north. As we go into the overnight hours, things calm down. But here comes the cold front. Maybe around 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, the cold front starts to sweep across the region with a few showers, and this might be the best chance of rain most of us have over the next 24 hours will be that front in the morning, because after that, the flow switches around to the northwest, and that's a drier, somewhat cooler flow. That should keep us much more stable tomorrow and really for Wednesday and Thursday. So rain chances overall are not looking pretty high. And today might have been the best chance some of us had in a while. You see the area, man, Hickory's just getting clobbered. There's like wave after wave in that area. So from Morganton to Hickory to Statesville over towards Greensboro, that area is seeing the storms. But further south, you can see how hit or miss the variety of storms are going to be. So tonight through tomorrow, we'll keep a small chance of rain, but our next, I would say, significant chance probably Friday afternoon with pop-up showers and storms, and even that right now is only a 50% chance. The bigger story long range is going to be probably the lack of rain, because a ridge of high pressure, a heat dome that we call them, begins to camp out over the eastern half of the country. Now, this is the time of year we tend to get hotter. The average high starts getting closer to 90, but even for us, for this time of year, this is abnormally hot. This could be 10 degrees above average for some areas. So you're talking about a significant heat wave, and not a short one either. I think this one kicks into effect this weekend and probably going to be at least a week long, lasting into 4th of July weekend. So these temperatures once they start moving in here, they really do ramp up. And so if we look at the next 7 days, just from a temperature standpoint compared to average, tomorrow and Wednesday, right around average, 87, 88 is our average. But then we're above average slightly Thursday, Friday, low 90s, not crazy. But now mid 90s start showing up this weekend. And once the mid 90s get here, they may not be done. They're going to stick around, and we possibly could see upper 90s as we go into the end of next week. So we'll start with your Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast here, kind of show you that slow but steady ramp up in the temperatures, by the weekend. You're looking at mid 90s, 94, 95. We've seen a couple stretches of that, but this could be the longest one. And then we go into next week, and this is where this becomes a significant heat wave, because the mid and upper 90s, they're here for a while. If they start Saturday and last through Thursday, that's a long stretch of abnormally hot weather. And that doesn't even include the heat index, which is likely going to be definitely well north of 100 degrees, especially with those overnight lows in the mid 70s. That means really high dew point air, pretty sticky air mass around here. So this is going to be one doozy of a heat wave that begins to build this weekend, goes into next week, and likely is going to last all the way into 4th of July weekend. And that is going to be the real heat. I mean, that is, even for us, for this time of year, that is going to be abnormally hot. So let's take a quick look again at the radar just to update you on where those showers and storms are. Remember, if you're watching us live here on Live Weather Impact, there's a little delay, so make sure you're checking the clock here. There's that one storm that's from Lowesville to Stanley to Dallas. That is pushing due east. I'll do a quick storm track on that just to give you a heads up, because this is moving towards northern Mecklenburg County. There's the storm track. So if you live in those communities, we're talking Cornelius, Huntersville, Cox Mill, Concord Regional, sometime between around 6:45 to 7 o'clock would be the time frame for that cell pushing in from the east. So coming up after the break, we'll be tracking these storms. We've got some strong ones up in the Greensboro area. We've got some around here. We'll talk about the building heat wave. Plus, we'll talk about some severe weather that happened in the middle of the country where they've had a lot this spring and summer. That's coming up in 2.5 minutes.
Weather Impact Live with Brad Panovich is sponsored by Moisture Lock. Crawl space, basement, and foundation repair experts serving the Carolinas since 1988.
Tired of all this rain? Does your yard look like a swamp after it rains? Hi, I'm Greg Doggett with Moisture Lock, Charlotte's premier waterproofing and foundation repair company. The longer water sits, the softer soil will become. This can cause foundation issues. If you're having drainage issues, contact Moisture Lock. We'll get the water away from your home and out of your yard.
Moisture Lock, stabilize, enhance, protect.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Alex Williams joins me from WFMY. And Alex, I'm going to hand off to you because you're getting the most active weather right now in the region. You got this pretty nasty bow echo that's been kind of moving across the triad now, and it really has prompted a lot of warnings up your way. This started back in our foothills and has really kind of accelerated east, and it's a nasty little line heading your way. Tell us what you've been seeing and what you're tracking right now.
Yeah, so far I have not received any damage reports from any of our viewers in that area. But yeah, we've been watching severe thunderstorm warnings probably over the last 30 minutes, maybe the last hour. And now, of course, it includes the triad proper, right? What we think of Forsyth County and Guilford County and Randolph County. But that's going to continue to march its way eastward at about 45 miles an hour. The main threats here are going to be damaging wind up to 60 miles an hour. Those are the straight line winds, and hail up to the size of pea, so pea-sized hail, not large hail there. And so these new severe thunderstorm warnings that you see on screen, those go until 7:30, and so that's really for all of Rockingham County and all of Guilford County. And these storms are really walloping, say, Forsyth County and into Surrey County. Got some of that earlier. Stokes County got some of that very heavy rain. So this is going to put down torrential downpours, very limited visibility, and strong winds up to 60 miles an hour. Those are the main threats with this. We're also seeing now, looks like some development there in northern Davidson County. So that could move and clip into areas of, say, High Point, Randleman. That'll be seeing some of those showers and storms. But we're not surprised by this. We had the weather impact alert there. And so we're letting our viewers know what's going on. Extremely heavy rain. Again, the primary threat is that damaging wind up to 60 miles an hour, Brad.
Yeah, and there was a new severe thunderstorm watch issued for your area. It goes to 11, Alex, but probably I think when this line moves through, they'll probably start canceling out some of those counties because it really is kind of a one-and-done type setup, right? Once that first batch moves through. It doesn't mean we couldn't see more showers and storms, but they're probably not going to be the intensity of this first line.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Yeah, so that severe thunderstorm watch even goes till 11 o'clock. Once you see this kind of bow echo and complex of showers and storms push through, you're probably going to be let go from that watch as the instability has been tapped for the day, so to speak, with the heat and humidity. I mean, we're already starting to see showers pop to the south. I'm sure Charlotte will have to watch out for some of those as well over the next couple of hours.
Yeah, so ours have been way more isolated, which is kind of what I anticipated. I figured it'd be that Interstate 40 corridor was going to be the hot spot. The one cell we have in our area hasn't gone severe. It doesn't look like it's going to be that strong, but it does have a lot of lightning. This one's moving towards Mountain Island Lake, so folks that are in North Charlotte, this is heading into areas like Huntersville, Cornelius, Davidson. And then it's kind of just sunny everywhere else until you get to the upstate. There's a cell that's coming out of the upstate of South Carolina, which probably is in a much better environment down that way, it seems, down towards Lawrence. This had a history of producing some downburst signatures, and that's like kind of what Alex has been seeing up his way, these straight line winds, and that's moving maybe towards Chester County. But I'll widen the view out, and you can kind of see, yeah, Alex, up there, you're getting all the action right now. It is pretty active up there with warnings, and really even up into Virginia. If we were to look at I'm going to pull up the Roanoke radar here just so we have it turned on as well. But yeah, going up into Virginia, really active storms. Actually had some tornado warnings up that way, but it really is from like I-40, I-85 north in the Triad into Virginia. It looks like a pretty active evening ahead.
Indeed, yeah, and I've been telling folks, hey, make sure that you're not doing anything over the next couple of hours, because if you put a track on them, it puts it into parts of Alamance County, say 7:30, 8 o'clock. So I said, over the next couple of hours, let's not go outside and try to do any outdoor activities as this line of showers and storms continues to push through. Kind of a cluster there, but extremely heavy rain is beneficial rainfall, and like I said, I haven't seen a whole lot of damage reports yet, and so that's the good news with it. Definitely a very, very pronounced leading edge of those showers and storms. A very nice shelf cloud came through downtown Winston, so I'll be looking forward to pushing that out later on social so that people can see it come through. But High Point's about to get hit with some extremely heavy rain with some of those cells that are popping up kind of to the south and now merging with that line of showers and storms.
Yeah, Rachel here in our office, we were talking about that, these warnings that were being issued kind of ahead of it. It looks like they're issuing for that outflow, Alex. It's pretty strong outflow. So you might see these warnings coming out really ahead of time. And that's the track I have. But you could see the warnings are, almost a full county ahead of the main line. And I guess that would be they're kind of anticipating that strong outflow is hitting before the rain gets there, Alex.
Yeah, 100%. And the damaging wind could be right along the outflow. And then also we have the collapsing storms producing those microbursts or those downbursts and, producing heavy, strong winds then. So that's kind of a two-prong where you can get some of this damaging wind from. But I'm sure the leading edge of that has some very strong winds coming through as well. And so that now includes Randolph County, northern Randolph County, and that goes until 7:45.
Yeah, it looks like to me that this is going to be one continuous warning along this line. And great job by the Weather Service kind of getting all the polygons together and just warning along this. So we'll start seeing that kind of, I think, all the way. We'll see. You think it'll hold together over towards Durham and Raleigh, or is it you think it'll calm down a little bit by then?
Well, I know that it is hot and it is humid there, and both those ingredients tend to help feed thunderstorms, and so that'll probably help them over the next couple of hours, hold together. They also have a lot of drought, so a lot of dry ground, so we'll just have to see. I think it does hold together. I had viewers who were like, hey, is it going to hold together for Alamance? I said, I don't see anything that would stop it. So. Once these clusters get going, they're kind of driven by the outflow. And so we get these cold pools, and they race out ahead, and that lifts the air, and we get thunderstorms, new thunderstorm development as these storms kind of move through.
Yeah, you're so right. Once they get organized like this, these are the kind that will sustain themselves. Unlike the little isolated pop-up storms, these will keep going for a while because they are producing that cool pool, as you said. And it is interesting. You've kind of got the storms moving east, but the little feeder cells are coming in from the south. So, yeah, to me, that looks like a pretty good setup that those are going to stay intact for a while. And it's, these long daylight hours, sunsets, like 8:40 now. So you got heat for several more hours. So these will go well past sunset in some cases. Let's take a quick look. I'm going to take a quick look at our future cast just to show people kind of the wider view here of what's going to happen. It didn't really do a good job with that first cluster, but it did hint at this area of storms north. It just missed it by a couple hours. So that's a good sign that at least the location was correct. The timing was off. But overnight tonight, Alex, it's kind of interesting. The cold front comes through sometime overnight and early tomorrow morning. Obviously less in the form of thunderstorms and severity, but we might wake up to a little bit of rain tomorrow as that front moves through in the morning into midday, and then it pushes off, and then we get into northwest flow, and we really should enjoy this midweek pattern because it's going to be, I call it not as hot. It's still going to be like mid and upper 80s, but it'll be less humid and somewhat enjoyable compared to what's heading our way this weekend and next week. I mean, we're tracking storms now, but I think the next big story is going to be this building heat wave for the east coast. And I know you've looked ahead of this. This looks like one of those long heat waves. Like, it's not going to be just a weekend. This could be a week of plus of 5 to 10 degrees above average. And even for our midsummer standards, this is going to be toasty.
Yeah, and we've kind of been fortunate in June's weather pattern. We haven't seen that subtropical ridge form or the Bermuda strengthen enough, the Bermuda high, where it's really influencing our weather and keeping us hot and humid. We've been fortunate to see rain chances, still popping up and not being just isolated, but more widespread like we're seeing tonight. We've seen a couple of these setups, so that's been something that's been very fortunate. Now it looks like we're going to get into a little taste of what would normally be business as normal, right? Business as usual with the heat and the humidity as we go into the last week of June and into July. 4th of July is next weekend. Yeah,
it's hard to believe it's sneaking up on us, and it's typically pretty hot around here. I don't get people wrong, and 90's not crazy, but some of the heat we're talking about next week is probably mid and upper 90s, so it's going to be pretty toasty and a long stretch of that. Alex, we've been lucky. We have not had a lot of severe weather here, and that's partly because of the drought. But boy, it has been an active stretch of weather in the middle of the country. And yet again, over the weekend and yesterday, we had severe weather in parts of Oklahoma where they had a derecho and tornadoes touch down. It's just been a wild stretch of weather across most of the middle of the country where we've seen these bouts of severe weather day after day after day. And I know Tim and I have talked about this, and I know you know this, that the stagnant pattern that's given us the drought has kind of produced this stagnant pattern for the middle of the country where they've seen day after day of severe weather. And the images, just every day you get new images. And here's some video we have out of Oklahoma of this tornado and derecho damage. It's just stunning. You know, I think as much as I don't like the drought, I don't know if I would want the severe weather for such a long period of time like they've had there.
Yeah, so basically what happened is the same pattern that has locked over us and has baked our ground and you know, made it really hot and really dry here. What's happened is the Bermuda High has actually been cycling tropical moisture all the way south of us along into the Gulf and then up into the Great Plains, as you see there, and then even up into the Midwest. And so that rich tropical moisture just acts to add instability to the area. And so you just set up a fire hose of day after day after day of rounds and rounds of showers and thunderstorms setting themselves off by boundaries that lay down. And then the next day, as it starts to heat up and it gets unstable again, new showers and thunderstorms fire up along those existing boundaries. And so they just really haven't seen relief from that because the pattern hasn't really shifted to break down that influx of moisture.
Yeah, and it's been wild. I think Illinois might lead the country in tornadoes so far this year, which is wild to think. Like in some cases, 2 to 3 times what like Texas or Oklahoma or Kansas have seen. It's been like a slight shift in that pattern. Has been like the Midwest has been kind of the hotbed, and most of the typical tornado alley, the classic tornado alley, has not seen nearly as much as the Midwest. I know my friend, he works in the central Illinois, and he says he's just tired of it. So it's just been day after day of this stuff. And what's interesting, you know, like you said, the pattern is kind of shifting now. This heat wave is kind of the first time this summer we've kind of seen what I would say is a more typical summer pattern starting to shape up, with the ridge kind of establishing here in the middle of the country and East Coast. And so, you know, there's big ridge of high pressure over in Europe right now as well. You know, I'm always fascinated by this, and you know, I think people understand this, but it is pretty cool to see how interconnected these long wave patterns are across the globe, because when we see these patterns set up like this, you know, there's a trough somewhere that's causing a ridge here, and there's a ridge somewhere that's causing a trough somewhere else, and it is really fascinating to see. So we got this ridge over us, but over in Europe, you know, they've been baking under a ridge of high pressure as well, and Wimbledon's coming up here, and I know there's all this concern about a big heat wave in parts of the UK as well. So this crazy pattern across the globe. It is interesting, Alex, to think that maybe this has something to do with El Nino causing the jet stream to buckle, but I don't know. It's kind of early for El Nino to have such a big impact, but we are seeing some pretty extreme trough ridge patterns setting up in the northern hemisphere right now.
Yeah, and you would think that and one of the things I think to think about is El Nino. It strengthens the subtropical jet stream, and that subtropical jet stream can bring in moisture from the tropics, right? And so you can see it start to strengthen. Maybe that being a little more active has brought more moisture in. But then typically when you think troughs and ridges, you think of a quieter weather pattern when it comes to El Nino, at least for some. But we have not seen that. There has been plenty of troughs and ridges, or meridional, the wavy pattern that we like to say in meteorology. And now there's that ridge. I mean, that stretches from the Gulf Coast all the way up to the Midwest, and that means business. That's going to be some very hot air.
Yeah, and with us being in a drought, sometimes these ridges can set up over a dry part of the country, and they'll get a little boost because the ground's dry below them. And we'll have to see if this is a has any staying power for us. It has been a weird start to summer, as you mentioned, because, we've had a lot of tornadoes in June, which is, that's not rare for like the northern plains, the Front Range, Canada, but to see them so far south has been weird. But even last weekend was weird, this past weekend, having all that wind that we had with a big low pressure over the northeast. And I watched the U.S. Open here on WCNC, and the first couple days it looked like they were playing in the British Isles. It was windy and cold, and it was just weird to see that in early June to have wind, because normally we have these stagnant high pressure systems and we can't buy a breath of fresh air or wind. And the last week or so, it has been very abnormally breezy for June in the Carolinas.
It really has. The wind, it's been windier. It's been, we get these cool downs, which we don't typically see. So count your blessings if you, over the next couple of days, as we see a little bit of cooler weather into the day tomorrow. Some of our models, the graph kind of hinting at the lower 80s or middle 80s for us, which would be a nice relief from that heat. But yeah. Lots of showers and thunderstorms on the stronger side tonight, moving right through the triad proper as we speak.
Yeah, I wanted to zoom in for you. I know we couldn't pull your graphics up, so I'll pull them up for everybody. But yeah, you got a good storm moving into downtown Greensboro. Tell everybody, this is moving east. I think at 35 was the last speed I saw on it. Looks like some pretty strong winds in there. Definitely a lot of cloud to ground lightning. I thought it was a good point earlier. You said, the biggest thing about this is just be inside. There's still a lot of kids that have summer swim team, and people are at the pool and the lakes now. It's so hot out there. So this is a good idea. You hear that thunder, get inside right now. At the very least, the lightning is a danger, but we know there's strong winds in there as well, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that could be coming out ahead of the line of showers and storms, or this cluster of showers and storms, or it could be coming down from above as these showers and storms kind of collapse upon themselves. But yeah, that's going to be a strong cold pool as that advances to the east. So you're definitely going to see some very strong winds coming straight through downtown. And into the Pleasant Garden area. High Point's already getting walloped right now by that very, very heavy rain, and then that extends south into northern portions of Randolph County as well. So that'll be heading towards Asheboro, Newmarket, and again, interestingly enough, as Brad pointed out, that cell to the south is actually moving to the northeast, more towards the Newmarket area. So this is all going to conglomerate together and continue to push eastward. So Burlington, even though you're not under a warning right now, Alamance County probably going to be seeing the extension of that severe thunderstorm warning, as well as into Caswell County and towards Siler City, Pittsburgh, and then into the Triangle if it holds itself together.
Yeah, so I put an updated storm track. I was just checking because the speed has picked up. Now they got it moving east at about 45. And I'm looking at the radar loop, Alex, I was actually thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, that looks like it's picking up a little speed, which is also an indication of strong winds. We often say that when the storms start moving faster, at the very least it's producing 45-mile-an-hour winds if it's moving 45 miles an hour.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's driven by this cold pool. So cold air is dense. Dense air moves faster. And so it makes sense that as it's generating this massive cold pool, it's accelerating because that cold air is dense. So it's pushing along the ground and it's lifting that air faster. So 45 miles an hour. So yeah, that's moving into Asheboro at 7:06, Reedsville just before that, after 7 o'clock. So really safe between 7, 8 o'clock, maybe even 9 o'clock. Don't really need to be doing anything, especially if you live east of where the storms are now, as those will continue to head in that direction.
All right, Alex, we're out of time. Stay tuned to WFMY for the latest on the severe weather up there, and we'll track any storms that pop up down here. We'll see you tomorrow.